Thank you, Holliston. We are just returning from exec session now, 7:02 p.m. We're going to be returning to our standard select board meeting agenda, and the first thing that we have up is an update from the Sewer Commission. So I'd like to invite the members to come up if they would like. Please. Names and addresses as per usual. We are very happy to have you.
Hi, Kevin Cornwell, 48 Fisk Street.
John Cronin, 40 Holly Lane, Chair of the Sewer Commission. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Mother of the Bride. Good to see you all.
Good to see you as well.
Good to see you. This evening, it's been about 6 months, I think, give or take, since we've had a chance to sit down with you folks and give you an update on what we've been up to over the last 18 months. I think it's most important to start with the most recent event. It started on June 3rd. After several weeks of effort and intense dialogue, we pushed the button on our latest MassWorks grant application. This grant application totals $4,797,373, a good crooked number that brings us comfortably to the total project cost, and I'll get into that in just a second. But briefly, going backwards now, the total project cost was estimated to be $7.3 million by Lombardo Associates back in 2024. That number, if you recall from the report, did include inflation numbers, some contingencies and so forth. So currently it's good enough to play with, but it'll age out soon. But we feel comfortable to base our TPC on that. So with the previous MassWorks application and award, also known as Phase 1, that grant was 1.5. It was awarded last fall. And plus the federal earmark that we just received totaling $1.1 million, this 4.8 will, if approved, make us whole. Before I proceed, I just noticed our other commissioner, Stacia Gelano, arrived. Hello, Stacia. Nice to see you. Moving forward, the town was awarded the $1.5 million last fall. These funds are offsetting the upgrades currently needed for the wastewater treatment plant, as well as the construction and engineering contractual services through Lombardo Associates to scope the improvements and assist with the town with preparing the main bid for the pipe infrastructure. The Sewer Commission began communicating also this past spring with the property owners to endorse the easement agreements to permit the town to legally proceed to plan properly the specific sewer pipe installations. To date, we've received 18 signed agreements with about 49 or 50 or so outstanding. We've got about 25% captured, and that's fine by us. We've publicly stated that we want to work with people. This exercise is not a heavy-handed exercise that demanded agreements by a certain date. We gave deadlines to people, but we began hearing quite clearly from people that they had some concerns over the renderings that they were given. Those renderings were not engineering renderings per se, they were not as-built, and people had concerns about them. So we put them off. We've recorded their concerns. We've created a digital file of every email, every concern, and we'll revisit them when we award the big contract. This past May, town meeting approved the designation of the Village Commercial District as the bounds for our project. Kind of a small but very meaningful act. It finally gave us the final bounds in which we play this project out over the next several years. As you know, we started with 71 that were mapped out by the Lombardo Associates plan that optimized the 32,000 gallon metric. But what we've come to learn is that although 71 people are invited to the program, they may not accept. So this was an important step to allow us to utilize potentially other properties within the bounds, but outside the current plan. See if we can grab them to fill in gaps as we move forward over the next several months. We've worked with these 71 identified properties exclusively and hope that over the next several months we can learn more clearly which ones will opt in, which ones will opt out. I'll get to that in just a second. We've also been contacted, I should say, by other property owners that are in the Village Commercial District but not currently in the plan. We've parked them. We know who they are. We know what they want. They know their status. They're sort of on deck. They'll be assessed when and if the time comes to fill those gaps in. Earlier this year, we were informed also that the town would receive $1.09 million in a federal earmark for our project. Congressman McGovern visited Holliston in May to make this announcement. It was a great event. These funds will be used towards the total project cost. So looking ahead, the Commission has several milestones over the next several months, and I'll go through them briefly. With a portion of the $1.5 million that we received a year ago, the Commission has awarded or intends to award a contract to a vendor to begin phase 1 of 2 to improve what we call outside work. This is work at the wastewater treatment plant that is essentially installing tanks, pilings, and other infrastructure that will support the upcoming increased demand for service. That work, hopefully, will be going out to bid by the beginning of July. We hope to have it awarded in time for most of the work, if not all of it, to be completed before school starts. We're mindful that school starts, I believe, the last week in August. It's best to have the work done in and around the area without the children around, obviously. We'll do our best to adhere to that and keep in touch with the schools as needed. One of the things that will help us accelerate that project completion is the fact that several of the components have already been purchased and are on site, if you will, are ready for installation. We had to move towards this two-phase approach because we decided to take the whole apple and bite it all at once and put both the inside and the outside work together in a bid. Unfortunately, I think we came into contact with a very busy construction season, in other words, high demand, low supply. We received one bid which was not tenable. So we retreated. We think that this approach will achieve both measurable success, which we think is easily attainable this summer, the outside work, while putting off the more complex outside work, which is the balance of the contract, will bid sometime this fall. And that work can be done over winter. We'll also be working with the town manager, Frank Gervasio, and our town council to determine possible fall town meeting articles. Our commission has broadly discussed bylaws that may be needed and furthermore drafted for town meeting consideration. The timing of what the bylaws may be and will be discussed with council over the next several months. We're trying not to get too far ahead of what those bylaws might be. We've done some research with other communities that have gone through this. We've gotten kind of a mixed bag. Not surprisingly, what we're trying to do is very unique right now with the scale and size, but we're learning a lot from other communities. Some communities have very strong bylaws with a very heavy hand. I think what we're looking for are collaborative bylaws that work with property owners to achieve, obviously, an improved sewer infrastructure. We also expect to hear from the state in October about the grant application that I just mentioned that we filed. Our hope is that the full amount will be funded so that we can bid the full project. If we get news that in fact differs from that expectation, we'll reset and plan accordingly. One of the things that we observed looking at the Mass Works funding history is that they typically do not award any singular grant above $5 million in 1 year. But in contact with the state, they are very much interested in our project. They encouraged us to express our enthusiasm for the community support that we've received. Obviously, the federal earmark goes a long way in explaining to the state stakeholders that Holliston is indeed supportive of this project. And so we're very optimistic that we may very well see that optimal number, 4.7, almost 4.8 this fall. Looking ahead, the Sewer Commission is mindful of some looming issues. In no particular order, we have had conversations with some property owners within the district that may, in fact, opt out. I just put in a new septic system, for example. Why would you bother to go into a sewer system if you have a perfectly, fully paid septic system on your property? In the event they want to opt out, we have to define the bounds by which they're out. Are they out in perpetuity? Do they go to the back of the line? Those are the rules that we have to sort of map out. The opt-in, as I mentioned, we do have several properties that have by their own volition, approached us and put themselves in the queue. But once we have a general idea of what the total subscribed interest will be, we'll put the call out for any other properties that may want to join within the Village Commercial District. We're mindful of the maintenance costs of the town to manage the system. We're getting several questions, good ones, but I refuse to answer them, which is, what's the cost to me? Well, it's a math question I can't answer right now. I perfectly understand why people want to know that, because if they have a septic system that's functioning and they're paying $300, $500 a year to have it pumped, any number that's above that's a value question. What do I get for that? So we're going to have to confront that at some point. Property owner monthly annual cost figures into that as well. The overlap of system management with the Board of Health, the Department of Public Works, the Water Department. We have a meeting coming up in mid-July. We've invited Sean Reese to join us. I think it's time we talk directly to the DPW superintendent about our shared interests. His department, through the Water Department, monitors homeowners' water consumption through meters. That's an area that we probably want to learn more about, as when it gets down to how we're going to measure each property's utility, water consumption is an area that comes to mind. So there is an area we want to talk to them more clearly about and see if we can find some scaled interests. What's the word I'm looking for? Collaboration. We'd also like to secure a method to maintain funds for system upgrades. We certainly need to maintain a system, and that would be the annual maintenance costs that the users pay. But we have to start accruing, as your water department does, a sum of money to use in the event that the future wastewater treatment plant or any of the infrastructure needs capital improvements. And then finally, we need to eye the system growth via water disposal with a license from DEP. The Commission has not spent a lot of time looking at the future of the sewers in Holliston beyond this particular goal, but we are mindful that DEP has kind of given the town the notion that its 32,000 gallons license is likely impossible to increase down the road, which means more capacity down at the treatment plant. We're not there. We want to finish this process first and then maybe engage that in the next couple of years as things begin to fall into place. So I'd like to thank the board, the select board. You have enthusiastically supported us. We really appreciate that. We'd like to thank the property owners of the district. About 2 months ago, Kevin and I walked the entire district, property by property with PO, learned a lot, met several people along the way who were very enthusiastic about what's going on, a lot of questions. And would also like to thank our fellow commissioners. I would like to thank Kevin and Stacia. You folks have appointed a stellar team. These folks have made every meeting. They're enthusiastic. They're really doing the work, which as a volunteer group, you have to appreciate that's the key to success. I'd also like to offer a brief congratulations to Stacia. I know she's up for reappointment. She's putting her name forward again for another sign up for 3 more years. We really appreciate that. And finally, on behalf of the Commission, we'd like to put out a huge thanks to James Keese, the Facility Director, whose steadfast and expert management has been invaluable through the project. He sits with us at every meeting. He's saving you money because we're not billing PO every meeting. As an engineer with an engineering background, he's giving us great counsel. We would not be making the headway we are without him. So things are going quite well. I'm here to report to the Select Board. We do expect setbacks. We will adjust as needed, but happy to keep you, your town manager, informed going forward. We're happy to answer any questions you might have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cronin, Kevin, and Stacia. I really appreciate all the work that the commissioners have put into this. It's incredible how much progress has been made since we first started talking about this, and that is all on your shoulders, so many thanks. I'll open it up to my board for questions or comments.
One quick question here. As you know, Karen Sherman, the planner, is retiring, and we're having a new planner coming in soon. Do you have plans to work with the planner or talk to the planner at all about, future and what that looks like? Certainly in the district at this point. I'm just curious if that's on the calendar at this point.
We've made our way, been around many of the department heads in town hall. Board of Health comes to mind, the Economic Development Committee, Finance Committee. we'd be happy to meet with the new planner when he or she arrives. I think it's important that all hands understand what's going on.
Yep.
And to that point, I know the town manager has department head meetings from time to time. Happy to express, Frank, at an upcoming meeting, once you have an all-hands meeting, what's going on with the sewer commission, if you feel it's necessary.
Is there a timeline for when that person might be joining?
Yeah, sometime in August.
Okay.
Perfect.
Summer, fall.
Okay.
Great.
That's it. Thank you. And I appreciate all the work that the Sewer Commission has done. You're doing a huge amount of work behind the scenes, and we really appreciate all the things that you're doing and continue to do to bring this project forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
My question is really to Frank and to you, sewer commissioners. When it comes to the $4.8 million request through the MassWorks program, we're waiting for an October announcement. Is there action this board should take to request letters of support from Senate President Spilka, from James Rena DeRosa, from Jim McGovern? We know they support us. I think you might know that Frank and I spent a good hour and a half, 2 hours in the Senate President's office back in April, early May, meeting with her regarding a number of opportunities that the state can help the town with. We had the Undersecretary of Housing and Livable Communities present with us, and the emphasis was very much on development in the downtown area through the sewer project. So I think they're fully aware of what this presents to Holliston for economic growth and development, and are supportive. In fact, I do recall Karen Spilka leaning across the table and sort of leaning in to say, you can see Holliston's ready for this. And that felt like a wonderful endorsement in the moment, but can we do more now for you?
So I can tell you the letters did go in with the application.
Okay, perfect.
All three.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm all set. Thank you.
A couple of tactical questions. I'll keep them brief, though. For some of the work that you mentioned that's upcoming that you're trying to make sure doesn't overlap with the new school year starting, and then you mentioned some of the winter-based work that could be done, are there any seasonality windows where there are specific windows of work that will be constrained based on the season, or is it all pretty much as planned?
There is. As I mentioned, the outside work is designed to be done in favorable weather. We are trying to achieve that work before school starts. Excuse me. We're also mindful that if you're familiar with the treatment plant space, it shares a common circle of interest, if you will, with the proposed basketball court at the old Flag School. Through James, we've been monitoring the work that we plan to do. We'll communicate that with the parks, because I believe there may be some overlap to some extent in the public works space, Damon. But our goal is to try to get it done without the children in and around the area. We're confident we can do that without interfering with much of the school year at all. The inside work is more technical. We're talking about a good size, well, about $300,000 worth of work. A little bit more than half of the scope will be the modernization of the infrastructure inside the plant, upgrading the technology, if you will, to monitor the system's performance. So that won't interfere much at all with the school.
So that's purely monitoring, not capacity, that portion?
I don't understand the question.
So you're talking about the upgrades that would be done?
Yes.
In terms of monitoring, that's purely internal work?
That's all inside.
That's all
buildings,
inside.
And
Great.
would be done and it could be done all winter long.
Oh, fantastic.
Things, and ideally would be done potentially weekends or on school
Right.
breaks, those kinds of things. In and
Great.
around our
But
buildings.
to be clear, it's more than monitoring, it's diagnostic, it's performance. This system is, I mean, you don't want to use the often used expression state-of-the-art, but it is a modern wastewater treatment plant function. It utilizes much more technology than ones in the past that have been more manual or human involved. So we're expecting the investment to pay off with relatively low human maintenance down the road.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Any other questions or comments? No? John, I want to say thank you very much again. Commissioners, this is something that's been on a lot of people's agendas for a long time. Thank you for all the progress. It's really great.
My pleasure, and thanks, my commissioners. Have a great night, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.
One moment, please.
Do we want to move this up, this dishes forward, or should we stay?
All right, so just a quick moment. What we're going to do is we're going to be moving into a joint meeting with the school committee shortly on a vote to appoint school committee vacancies. And we're going to reassemble briefly up here, take a very brief 2-3 minute break. Everyone from the school committee is going to come up and join us. We'll reseat a little bit, and then we'll begin discussing some of the nominees that we've got. So 2 minutes, please. Come on. All right, we're returning now, and our intent is to move into joint session. It is currently 7:23, and I believe that we need the school committee to be called into order to join the joint session.
Yes, so we'll call to order Holliston School Committee to 7:23. We don't need to do a roll call vote because we're in person, so we're called to order.
Called to order. All right, we are now in joint session. Very exciting. Tonight's business is one that has been building up for a while, and we are very grateful to be finally addressing it. I want to thank all the members of the school committee in advance. We've already had some great discussions, so I appreciate it. On the agenda is essentially nominating an individual to fill a vacancy that was previously left by someone who left the school committee, and I believe that we have 2 nominees. Is that correct?
Yes.
The way we're going to be doing this is we're going to allow a statement from each nominee and followed by questions from assembled around the table for each nominee, and then we'll move straight to a roll call vote unless we have further discussions after that.
Yeah.
Sound good to you?
That works, Damon.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Who shall be our first nominee?
I guess we'll go in alphabetical order. So
like it.
Ally?
All right, please join us.
Ally is on camera, I think.
Allison, are you able to get on microphone? I know that there were some concerns with your travel. All right, you're there. Excellent.
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you extremely well, so please continue. We're aiming at like 2 minutes for the joint statement, but of course there's room in there.
No, that's fine. Except my apologies for not being able to be there tonight, as I am on vacation. I've presented my qualifications multiple times now, so I don't think I have anything new to add. I do want to say, from my vantage point, I understand tonight's vote to be relatively illustrative and procedural. As I'm sure Sarah knew, she had the votes to be appointed prior to submitting. Plus, after all, she was elected by the town in the recent election. So I didn't reach out to anyone in the community to submit letters of support on my behalf. But I did want to speak just quickly because over the past few weeks, I've heard from residents who really are quite frustrated. They feel that the process to fill a vacancy is rigged. So I wanted to see this procedure through and see it out. And to those folks, I obviously hear you on that. But at the same time, understanding the why behind the scenario is important. It's because the law requires a joint vote between the school committee and the select board. And since our select board is smaller than the school committee, any vacancy generally comes down to who the school committee picks. I do want to also speak directly in response to adverse things that have been said or written online about Sarah's character. Not only is the rhetoric completely inappropriate, and I might add not productive to helping that cause, I also want to know it's factually wrong. I've known Sarah Fitzgerald for approximately 10 years, first meeting thanks to Holliston Youth Soccer, because our daughters are the same age and her husband was the coach. over many years, the Fitzgeralds have been the whole family have been a fixture in Holliston soccer, and our sons most recently played together in high school. So I have seen youth sports bring out the very worst in some parents, but never have I seen anything but the best of Sarah Fitzgerald. She's a total class act. And, do I disagree with some of the procedural or stylistic choices she made in conducting the June 2nd school committee meeting? Yes. Do I think that some of the choices fed the ensuing fire after the meeting? Also, yes. I do believe the community would benefit from an explanation for her as to why, as the leader, did she resign when the committee most needed leadership? And then also, why did she decide to come back and submit to fill the vacancy she created? I feel like those are the main questions I've been hearing from the community. And these are all fair questions, but to her character, no. So to the residents who reached out to me with your concerns and your frustrations, I guess I just want to say that the sense of community is what drew my family to Holliston, and I imagine yours as well. And so please let us hold that in the center of our healthy debates, discourse, and discussions. Thanks. That's all.
Thank you, Allison. Very much appreciate it. And thank you for that extreme level of real generosity and civility. Appreciate it. Questions or comments from around the table? No? No questions for the candidate?
Is the process to ask each candidate the
Yeah.
same questions?
Yes, in theory.
Okay.
Don, sorry, really quick, just before we, and I don't mean to cut you off, before we proceed, I just want to remind folks to speak directly into the microphone. We're getting some
They're a bit
feedback from Zoom that we can't hear folks. I have an extra microphone down here that I'm happy to donate to someone else if they need it, so thanks.
Okay. Do others have questions for the candidates?
I could ask. Allie, you kind of touched upon it, but I'm curious, what inspired you to run, or not run, but put your name in for the first appointment and then again for the second?
As a parent, I've, been frustrated with, in some areas, when I have offered input, depending on who I offered it to, I didn't feel that I was listened to. And so I thought, rather than sit at home and complain, I would throw my hat in the ring. I have a lot of, obviously, from my application, I have a lot of corporate leadership, analytical, logic-based style, and I thought it would be very complementary to the other folks on the board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Further questions?
I do have
Please.
questions. I have two questions.
Please proceed.
But I can do just one if there's others that have questions.
Seeing
Okay.
none?
The Holliston School Committee recently reviewed the recommendations of the Math Leveling Review Committee regarding middle school mathematics leveling and pathways. This followed changes implemented in 2020, 2021, and then ongoing discussions at school committee meetings in 2021, 22, 23, 24, and then this past year. What aspects of its recommendations do you support, and are there any areas where you would have taken a different approach? And then also, if you could just discuss how you would balance that academic rigor, student opportunity, equity, and parent feedback when making decisions about course leveling.
Sure. So I'm not unbiased in this particular question. I'm a structural engineer, and high-level math is very important to go to school for engineering. And I personally took algebra in 8th grade, and so that put me on the good track. My kids are all old enough that they were before this leveling discussion. And so I've seen through my 3 kids that are all wired differently. all with the opportunity to be in a higher level. It was either great or maybe too fast or just fine. So I think I come at it, as an engineer. We have a massive need for new engineers. So plug for all civil engineers out there. Tell your kids to go into civil engineering. I'm a huge advocate for the leveling of the math curriculum to provide kids that opportunity to really differentiate themselves with superior math skills. But I also do see the other side, that sometimes there are kids like my kids. I had kids that were sort of pushed into that because I advocated for it, and it really wasn't necessarily the best for them. So Dawn, I know you had a couple other parts to that. Are there,
Sure.
Do you want to follow up?
I guess just discuss how you'd balance academic rigor, student opportunity, equity, and parent feedback when making decisions about course leveling as a committee member.
I'm writing that down. Academic rigor,
Student
parent
opportunity,
feedback.
equity, and parent feedback while making decisions about course leveling as a school committee member.
Yeah, so I think that equity is a hard one because I think the angle there is that there may be kids that are not quite ready or perceived as not quite ready, and they may not get that opportunity, but in a more balanced classroom, maybe they would. I think from a parent feedback standpoint, I think it's important. Obviously, I'm a parent and I had strong opinions for my kids, and sometimes I work to, push harder. But, in hindsight, I see really the educators, the teachers, the department heads, right? They have a really good handle on it. My sense as a parent is when I come at things the strongest, it's with, passionate love for my child, but sometimes without all the information. I think so. In terms of parent feedback, I think it's important that people feel listened to, but I also feel it's important to educate people on things that they may not be aware of because they see them from their own lens. From academic rigor, I already spoke to that, the importance of it. Did that answer your question? I mean, how would I balance? There's no way to perfectly balance everything, right? I definitely would look to the educators as a voice, important voice.
Thank you.
I do have one question.
Please go ahead.
Ally, I totally hear you, the community, in voicing frustration. The sense that there's not listening happening, and I can tell you there is listening, it's just not always a favorable outcome. What would be one decision that you would differ from and support if you were on the committee? What is something you're passionate about?
Well, I said this in an early conversation with Dawn and Sarah, actually, that's a hard question to answer fully because there's a lot of discussions that happen maybe in executive session or whatnot that I'm not privy to. And I mean, everything is just so detailed. So I don't want to be the backseat driver that pretends that I have all the answers. That said, the decision, ultimately it was reversed, that I appreciate, but the decision to really kind of force this high school schedule earlier than I felt the high school could have really responded to it, I thought that was a poor decision. And I feel that the feedback that the school committee received was very strong and ultimately, you guys made the decision to delay, which I was in support of.
Thank you.
Damon, I have a question.
Please go ahead, Tina.
Ally, I just want to thank you for taking a question that, you have no preface for, so here goes. Where we would interact with you as a member of the school committee here on the select board would be primarily through the budget process. We heard up through this current round of budget process that there were challenges being faced across the state of Massachusetts, that Holliston was also facing challenges, that Holliston needed to be concerned moving forward as well with the budget in the upcoming years. So my question for you would be, do you have concerns about the budget for fiscal year 27, so the 26-27 academic year? Do you have concerns about what was passed? Do you see areas that should have been funded more? What would you be looking to have conversations with the select board regarding the budget for the upcoming, well, the 27-28 academic year?
I don't have specific concerns about the budget that was passed. My sense is there's never enough money, and there's certainly not enough money from the state, and so it's really a balancing act. So I don't have any specific things that I would say I disagreed with. As I'm new to the school system, I think that, or the school committee lens, I think I would be very interested in any sort of grants possible. I'm not an expert in that, so it would be something that I would want to look into. But for example, through work, I worked on a project in a neighboring town, municipal bridge project. The town didn't have money for the bridge, and I was able to find a priority at the state level that effectively made the cost to the town go away. So I don't mean to compare that the school funding to road and highway funding. I know they're totally different animals, but that idea of trying to find money somewhere would be a goal. I know it's a lofty goal, and other people have the same goal.
Thank you.
Allison, I have one question. It's fairly broad, but I tend to ask it all the time. When you think about continued investment in the schools, the need for growth in that investment, what metrics would you use to judge kind of the return on investment, the efficacy of the continued investment when it comes to understanding the outcomes for the schools? This is definitely one of those big inscrutable questions. It's faced by every school, everywhere. But what's your personal point of view? How do you track ROI on continued investment?
As a resident, I would say that I feel that residents care most about that list of where we sit relative to Hopkinton, Ashland, et cetera. That list isn't actually overly important to me personally, but I respect that people look at this as, their property values and where we sit and how attractive the town is. So that's a metric. It's not overly important to me because I understand why why we've fallen away from the metric to some degree. I think more of like nuts and bolts things, kids at higher levels being able to receive certain classes, certain programs that, as my kids have been recently, applying to schools, there's programs that happen in other schools that don't happen in Holliston High School. And I think the schedule will help with that. The changes in the schedule will help with that. So I think the diversity of the curriculum, I don't know how to apply a specific metric to that, but that's something super important to me, preparing kids for actually professional jobs. I feel like that's really a hard leap of what are you going to do after what are you going to do after high school, and if you're going to go to college, what are you going to major in that has some sort of an ROI, and what jobs are even out there? I feel like that's actually a gap currently, that there could be a lot more done. Ultimately, the way I answered the question last time is an important metric to me is the stability of the teachers, to make sure that we're really attracting and retaining highly qualified teachers. My kids have had, great teachers who have left for a variety of reasons, and replaced by, kind of very different teachers that I would wish that other person had stayed. But I think Holliston is a, strong district, for teachers, and I guess I would just want to, focus on that teaching metric in terms of the number of, retainage of teachers, I guess is what I'd say.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the candidate?
I have an additional question.
Please.
Since COVID, young students are struggling more than ever with mental health. Is Holliston seeing a need for increased behavioral services for students? And what is your overarching plan to address the social and emotional needs of Holliston Public School students?
I think it depends on the school. My experience has been that at some schools, there's just not enough staff to really support the kids that need it. I don't know, that was when my kids were in that school at that time. So in terms of specific staff need, that would be kind of the first line of defense, making sure that we have adequate staffing. I feel that the social emotional health, at the high school, I've had great experience with. Actually, middle school is rough, but middle school is such a rough developmental time. My kids, I had some struggles at Miller. And so I feel like at the younger schools, there's a lot of good culture around, community and all being, part of one group. A lot of, Dave Kime with his costumes and dance parties and reading nights and things that are really great. And I see those as really fostering a great sense of community that also supports social emotional health.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Further questions?
I have one more. Allie, what do you foresee, if you were to get appointed, what do you foresee as some of your initial challenges or areas for growth, and what areas do you think you could hit the ground running?
Well, I'd say my initial challenge is that I've never done it before. Right, so all of you who have been living and breathing the school committee, I don't have that experience. I'm aware of the Mass Association of School Committees and their training and their resources. I've looked into some of them, but surely I would need training to get up to speed. In terms of like my strengths, really anything to do with numbers, data, research, trying to kind of understand why things are the way they are, is, kind of something that is, my personal strength. So that really kind of aligns, with metrics, but certainly with budgeting. I think actually my priority would be in communication. Just thinking about some of the comments that have been made to me over the past few weeks. I think the most important thing for the school committee now is to build the trust of the community and to kind of listen to the naysayers and try to understand where there's common ground so that that component of the committee can just be a healthier path forward. So that would be, numbers aside, that would be the thing that I would be most passionate about.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you for answering our many questions. We really appreciate
You're
that you
welcome.
could join us virtually.
Yep.
So thank you very much. And I think with that, we'll move on to the second nominee.
Yep.
All right, Sarah Fitzgerald, would you like to come join us up here? Please state your name and address, and then you can proceed to your comments.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fitzgerald. I live at 3 Quill Run. To the Holliston School Committee and the Select Board, thank you for meeting tonight to fill the open seat on the school committee. I'm here to obviously express my interest in that seat. Over the past 3 years, serving on the school committee has been both an honor and a responsibility. I entered this role with a strong desire to serve our district, and through that experience developed a deep understanding of the challenges and opportunities facing our schools. I'm proud of the meaningful progress that the school committee has made together during that time. I'm grateful that the Holliston community re-elected me for a second term this past May, and I deeply appreciate the confidence and support demonstrated through that election. For reference, just during my 3 years on the school committee, I served as chair last year. I've been a member since 2026. During that time, I served on the Superintendent Search Committee, the Math Leveling Committee, the Policy, Communications, Superintendent Eval subcommittees. I also was a member of the Equity Audit Steering Committee and the Holliston Coalition Against Hate and Bias. I worked on various negotiation teams, worked with the paraprofessionals contract, the cafeteria workers, administrative assistants, and we had just started the nurses contract in June. And then prior to serving on the school committee, I was an active district volunteer for many years. So between PTO president, volunteer coordinator, classroom coordinator, library volunteers, I've been in the schools for over 16 years. So during my first school committee term, I kept students at the center of every decision with a strong focus on inclusion and equity. I advocated for meaningful support of educators and worked to ensure all families felt heard and represented. That work continues. As our schools face important decisions ahead, I believe my experience, perspective, and commitment position me to help move the district forward. The Holliston Public Schools are at a critical juncture. In the coming months, the school committee will need to focus on several key priorities. We have a major leadership transition with almost a whole new central office staff, a new superintendent, new director of teaching and learning, hopefully a new assistant superintendent of finance and operations to be named soon, returning assistant superintendent of student services, a new Miller School principal, and I just would really welcome the opportunity to work closely with the district leadership to support a smooth and successful transition. We'll also be working on negotiating a new 3-year teacher contract. We'll have a new, the MSBA project getting up and going soon. While these priorities stand out in the near term, my core focus remains ensuring that every student has access to a high-quality education, every family's voice is heard, and our teachers and staff are supported in the vital work they do each day. I'm looking forward to building on what we've accomplished and continuing to work collaboratively to strengthen our schools. So with that being said, I will address probably the big question, so why are we here? I mean, as I'm applying for the seat that I recently vacated, I recognize that this is a very unusual situation. I used the word unusual in the letter of interest that I submitted to the school committee and select board. The meeting that we had on June 2nd and the reactions that followed, both that evening and in the days afterward, were very difficult. Public boards are often faced with criticism and disagreement. and healthy debate is an important part of public service. It's not unusual for the school committee to make decisions that don't please everyone. In fact, I would acknowledge that it's incredibly hard to please everyone at the same time. In some cases, our decisions work well for some families and not for others. In other cases, the decisions work well for certain age groups and not for others, and it might take some time for your kids to make it to the high school to appreciate the time changes or things like that. Ultimately, however, the decisions that the school committee makes are intended to take into account the experiences of all students and to make for the best possible education experience for the whole student body. When we make those difficult decisions, public discourse, even critical discourse, is expected. The feedback helps the school committee better understand and accommodate the needs of students. To be clear, we're quite equipped to weather those types of storms. At the same time, I believe those conversations should remain respectful and constructive. While the whole week of June 2nd was full of great end-of-year events, celebrations of our students, field trips, showcases, the carnival for our youngest students, for me personally, the celebration of our seniors. There was senior sunset, there's a scholarship night with graduation coming up that Sunday. This was all in contrast to the deeply disappointing response we heard both on June 2nd and in the subsequent days. These responses hit very differently. These responses were a huge distraction from the good things happening in the district. As things got increasingly personal, both for me and my colleagues, they really crossed a line that was not something I wanted to be a part of. I felt it was important to bring the temperature down at that point, both for myself and for the rest of the committee. At that moment, I didn't know how else to do it other than to step away. After taking time to reflect, and more importantly, after hearing from so many community members who not only shared my disappointment but also supported my service to the schools, I remain deeply committed to our schools and mindful of the responsibility to continue serving the community members who placed their trust in me through the recent election. For that reason, I'm submitting my name once again in the hope of continuing to serve our students, families, and the broader community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Questions from the assembled?
Jess was first. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like you definitely already answered the why apply and why reapply. So thank you for that. So I guess I'll skip ahead to my other question, which was what do you think are areas of growth for you if you were to get appointed, and what challenges do you foresee, and where could you hit the ground running? Which I think we know, but if you could expand on that.
I'd love to hit the ground running, I guess. Just to continue what we've been working on, I think we do have a great team, and I would love to be working again with all of you. I think we all can always do better, myself included. These are all learning experiences. We're here for education, and that includes us. I think, communication, the way we do things, how we incorporate community members into our decisions are all things we need to continually look at and reassess and reevaluate. And I just think that is something we can always do better on. So, I'm just trying to use all of this as a learning opportunity and to do better for the whole community as we move forward. We are volunteers, we're doing our best. That's not an excuse for when things don't go well. It's the reality of we're trying here, and we just need to keep plugging along and keep working with people and keep working with the various boards that are part of Holliston and part of making all this work happen.
The Holliston School Committee recently reviewed the recommendations of the Math Leveling Review Committee regarding middle school mathematics leveling and pathways. This followed changes implemented in 2020 to 21, and there were ongoing discussions at school committee meetings in 2021, 22, 23, 24, and this past year. What aspects of its recommendations do you support, and are there any areas that you would have taken, where you would have taken a different approach? And then also discuss how you would balance academic rigor, student opportunity, equity, and parent feedback when making decisions about course leveling. And of course, I can break that apart too. So I guess the first part is, what aspects of the recommendation do you support, and are there any areas where you would have taken a different approach?
Full disclosure, I was on that committee, so I guess I am thrilled to have a full year of Algebra 1 back in 8th grade. I'm happy that there are levels in 7th grade. I do think it's really important to allow those opportunities for students, for the students that are ready and are able to take on those challenges. One of the things that I am happy about with the way that those changes were implemented is that we do provide some extra supports. There's a math lab for the 8th graders right now, so if some of them still needed some extra help getting into and staying up with the algebra class, they're getting it in the math lab option. I do think we can, again, keep doing things better in terms of how we are doing the placement of students, identifying who's ready for those more challenging work. I think middle school is a time of maturity. Kids are at different levels of maturity. They're ready or not, So trying to assess when are students ready for the challenge. It's that fine balance of providing the rigor, but also not turning off kids who may be frustrated because they're not quite there yet. So I think between providing supports to students as well as how we're doing the identification, one of the pieces that led into how we're doing that kind of bounced off of the equity audit in terms of taking a little bit of the teacher bias out and using a data-centered approach. And I think it can be a combination of looking at test scores, looking at assessments, as well as when children are almost ready, providing them the opportunity to reach for the next level. So I think I'm happy to see that we have the levels, and I think especially with some of the changes with our high school schedule, where math will be year-long, I think it's important to have that algebra in 8th grade so that they can get to calculus more easily by the time they get to senior year.
Thank you. Further questions?
I'll repeat the question I had for Ally, which is in terms of the budget process. This is where we interact, Select Board and School Committee. There was a 3.5% increase for this upcoming fiscal year and academic year. Are there areas that you would look to see increase for next year that were not addressed in this budget process?
I think we are going to be, we'll be entering into contract negotiations, so salary is always a big part of our budget. So we have to figure out how that's all going to play out. But other than that, I think, we have done a very good job of meeting, initially it was the 3.25% target, and then thankfully we were able to work in some additional priority needs there. I think some of the things like the additional state aid that provided us an opportunity to get an out-of-district coordinator for the special ed program. Those are excellent opportunities, and I'm thrilled that we were able to take advantage of working with that and figuring out how to better support our student services and all of that. So I think I just look forward to keep working with the Select Board and Finance Committee and making all of those things work well.
Thank you.
Further questions? I'll get mine in if no one else.
I forget if I was next.
I think you were next, actually.
Okay, I will go. Similar to Ali's question, it's a little unique for you, Sarah, but is there a decision that take back and change, decision and/or event. If you could give us an example of something that you have learned, obviously, as you mentioned, we have to learn a lot. Every time we do something, we're learning and getting better, hopefully. But is there something you have done differently or changed your decision after the fact?
So I think, for me, if I think back to the last 3 years, where we have gotten the most pushback, it is in how we are working with the community. Sometimes there can be a lot of work and it can be difficult to always reach out, but I do think we try to do that, and I think we need to keep doing that, because ultimately we are here to serve the community, to serve families, to serve students, and the only way we can really understand what their needs and asks and desires are is by engaging closely with them. So I think things like, I think our office hours at Rushford have been a great option. They seem to be very well attended. For some reason, they're better than the Coffee Haven mornings. I think I've always tried to touch base with people when people reach out, meet them for coffee. I think the conversations face-to-face are much more productive than even emails sometimes. So I guess for me, it's that kind of thing. I mean, if you're talking about actual school committee decisions, I mean, budget can also be difficult. Anytime we're really looking at where are we going to squeeze money, I personally would love to see a more robust staffing of our libraries, but that's just me. I love our libraries, and I love, so if I had to reconsider, I'd love to but that's my own personal thing, and sometimes you have to look at the big picture and still do what's best for the entire district, and we still have limited funds. So those, the budget decisions are hard. So, that's where that's kind of where I fall.
Thank you, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll jump in with mine. It's the same one as it always is. What metrics do you use to judge kind of the return on investment broadly for continued investment and growth of investment in our schools?
And again, that's a super hard one to answer. I don't think there is any one metric. I think, especially, I think for depending on where you are in the trajectory of your children, or maybe if you're even outside of, your kids are grown and they're done with the schools. I think the lens you look at the schools can differ as you progress through life. For me, I think looking at student growth and how are we improving on our numbers in terms of how are kids accessing math and how are they doing with it? How are they accessing reading? Are they improving in writing and all of that? But also there's, the Metro West Health Survey that really gives us a gauge on how are our students feeling? Are they feeling supportive? Are they feeling good about themselves? Are they able to do the work? Are they feeling safe and supported in their schools? So I think some of those softer metrics are also super important for us to understand how successful can the students be if they're, hopefully feeling healthy and productive and supported. So I think it's a balance of looking at that kind of information, student engagement and understanding how well they're doing, grade-wise, test score-wise. That is also a piece of it. But there's lots of different ways to even if you just look at, the Instagram page for the student, what their plans are after college, after high school. Are they going to college? Or how are they doing? What schools are they getting into? I think, this year, I think kids have a fantastic future ahead of them based on some of the schools that they're interested in. So I just think there's lots of ways. To me, if I think about even just recently graduation, To me, it says a lot. So one of the great Holliston traditions is that the seniors can pick a staff member from any point in their education to be the person to give them their diploma. And for me to see elementary teachers out there, second grade teachers, giving away a diploma, that to me says a lot. Those teachers have made such an impact on the students' lives. So I guess those are the things that really impress me and make me feel like, okay, we can always do better, but there's also a lot of good stuff going on. So,
Thank you.
Since COVID, young students are struggling more than ever with mental health. Is Holliston seeing a need for increased behavioral services for students? And what is your overarching plan to address the social and emotional needs of Holliston Public School students?
So yes, we are definitely seeing an increase in IEPs and 504s over the years. And a lot of those are due to social, emotional, or behavioral issues. So some of it we're looking at staffing, BCBAs, also the out-of-district coordinator. I'm thrilled that Jess Beatty, the student services director, will be returning to the schools. And I'm also thrilled that she'll have some help so that the BCBAs and the SSAs who are working in the buildings will have more access to focus on the students that are still here in district, and there will be someone else to work with the students that are out of district. We have bridge programs, we have programs for trying to keep students in district, which I think is always great. They can be closer to their families and get the support that they need. But one of the things for me that is, I think in the last couple school committee meetings in May and June, there were presentations by students themselves who came and are talking about things like how to be a bystander, how to support your peers. Even we had the youth action team from Holliston who worked closely with Holliston Youth and Family Services, on everything from drug and alcohol awareness. The work that the youth are doing, I think, is so important and really beneficial, and they're leading by example, which I think is tremendous. So I think some of the community partnerships between our emergency, Chief Cassidy, our police department, Youth and Family Services through their therapy and all of the options that they are able to provide, I think all of those things, work to build a robust support system for all of our students.
Is that the end of our questioning round? Any others? Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we move into joint discussion on the candidates before us. I would usually do round robin unless anyone objects, and we can just go around. Anyone can add any thoughts that they have. Is that acceptable to you guys? All right, why don't we begin with you?
Round robin was going to be jumping not first in the hot seat.
If you'd like, we can go on the other end. It just should be fine. Yeah, do you want us to go over here?
All
right, if you're ready to roll.
Thank you to both candidates for their willingness to volunteer for this one-year appointment. Both Allie and Sarah have certainly a lot to offer. I know we had mentioned before, focus on looking at budget and some of the things that our district and our committee needs in particular. Allie certainly has a lot of those qualities, which are fabulous. However, I do feel that experience is really what we need with such a young committee that we have before us here, and I believe that Sarah is the person that would best fill the seat for our school committee. I think that a lot of the circumstances surrounding Sarah's resignation they were very disheartening. It was really hard. I know personally, I tried to stay off social media as things were really going down, but I was still distraught and explaining to my 7-year-old why I was crying and upset because of online vitriol and some of the comments that were made and the defamation of people that was happening. That was a lot to explain to all of my children, and they range in ages. So I fully respect that Sarah had to set up some boundaries, and although the question has come up, well, it's unusual to use her word there, I think it's fabulous that she has put her name back in. I think that being able to set boundaries for yourself and your family is important. None of us here as volunteers deserve that level of vitriol that was being thrown at us. Personally, it wasn't just the decision we were making, it became personal attacks, and that's never an acceptable mode of communication as adults. Our children are watching all of this. So I respect that completely. I think Sarah has helped lead the hiring of multiple new central office administrators. She's worked through negotiations, she's fostered relationships, she listed out all of her qualifications on a lot of the boards in this community. And those are the relationships and the people that I have heard from over the past few weeks on sidelines, via email, phone calls, conversations, of expressing their support. I know as a board, joint board, we got a number of emails over the past week saying those same things in support of Sarah. So I believe she's always been an asset to our school community and our school committee, and I fully support her appointment on this board.
Thank you.
I agree with Tracy in regards to the fact that this is a really difficult decision. Both candidates come with their unique set of strengths. Sarah's strongest assets, as was discussed, is her school committee experience, her knowledge of district operations, her labor and negotiation experience, her long-standing community involvement, and probably most importantly, her ability to provide continuity during a pivotal period for the school district. With that said, I do believe this appointment also presents an opportunity to add a new perspective and complementary expertise to the committee. Some of Ally's strengths include financial and project management expertise, including budgeting, forecasting, and risk assessment. She takes a data-driven approach with real-world context. She has experience with large-scale facilities projects, including school construction. She has strong community involvement and a first-hand understanding of student support and special education issues. And I think one of the things that stood out to me about Ally was her persistence throughout this entire process. She not only put her name in the hat for the first appointment and stayed in it when multiple candidates had pulled their names from that appointed seat. She stayed with it, and then when she ultimately was not appointed, she put her name in again this time, and I think that shows a level of commitment and just perseverance that I think would really benefit the district. I think that no matter who we appoint, we need to reflect on what has transpired in the last few weeks. And we all need to work really hard to build a sense of trust amongst each other and the broader community. And I really think we need to appoint someone who's committed to doing that. For me, this decision comes down to the needs of the community at this moment. Sarah provides consistency. Ally presents an opportunity for growth with her unique skill set. I'm really conflicted with this, and I'm interested to hear what the rest of the select board and the school committee think before putting an official name out there.
Excellent.
Sure. To hear Sarah reflect on June 2nd brings back memories that I've experienced as a select board member, being heckled in person, being heckled on my private property, being followed to my private property, the concerns my family have over the way in which public officials are treated, the pressures that puts on me as both a private member and also a public personality, I suppose, in this role. It's difficult to hear how that challenged you, Sarah, and I echo those concerns. I rest in the conviction that I'm doing a good job in the role that I have on the select board, and that is what allows me to continue, and that is why I'm in my third term. It's certainly not what we want in our community. It does not reflect the best of our community, and I do hope we reach a higher standard and move forward with better treatment of all of our volunteers, elected, appointed, and in any role. We all deserve that. We're better than that as a town, for sure, Sarah. I echo your comments. At this point, I recognize every strength that Sarah Fitzgerald presents. I disagree with none of them. I agree with all of them. This is not a no, but I will likely abstain from a vote for Sarah Fitzgerald. There's additional information that I would like more time to understand and learn, and in order to serve my role as a select board member. And for those reasons, I will likely abstain. I would advance Ali Lima as my preferred candidate here. I respect her critical thinking that she's demonstrated repeatedly in answering questions, in presenting her statements on multiple occasions, both in writing and in person. I find her to be analytical, an active listener, a critical thinker. I see the same in Sarah. This is not a comparison to put one above the other, but I also see Ali Lima as representing a new perspective for the school committee, and to echo Jess's comments, I see a growth opportunity here as well. So that's where I sit right now. I am also open to the conversation at the table here.
Thank you.
So I echo a lot of what's already been said, so I won't repeat everything, but just kind of maybe highlight a couple of things, and also add a few additional areas for context. So I would echo Jess's remarks about both Ali and Sarah's commitment. For Sarah to do a full term, run for re-election, and then put her name back in, I think really speaks to her commitment to the community. And as Jess mentioned with Ali, to go through this process, which was long the first time with multiple public meetings, and then to put her name back in again, I think speaks to her deep commitment to the role and to the community. I haven't changed my thinking since we met in June in terms of what we need in kind of to fill out this board with the work ahead. I'm still considering the needs of the budget, the negotiations coming up, along with continuing to build relationships with the community, our communications, and building our relationship with the new district staff members that will be coming up in our next leadership transition. So in thinking about that, we have a lot of new faces already on the board. Frank, myself, Tracy are all in our first term. Jess was elected just last month. David Keim hasn't even started yet. So I feel like we already have fresh perspectives, fresh experience. I'm also really would love to have Sarah's she's very strong in her communication, her relationship building. I think that would be an asset to the school committee.
Thank you.
I might be a little briefer here because I reiterate what Tracy said, and also Hillary, I want to talk a little bit about, I think there was a comment about how the process for vacancy is rigged, or some people had that perception. I just want to say we take this very seriously. We receive the letters of interest. You know, we listen to what others around us are saying. We reflect on letters that people send, and we also look to what the needs of the committee is. Having sat on this committee, reflecting back over the last 7 years, thinking about what the next year brings with the transition of leadership, all of those things weigh into my decision, our decision as a group here. I will say I also am pleased to see that Ali Lima has been persistent over these last 3 weeks since June 2nd to this day. I'm really looking forward to next year. We'll have 4 open seats for next year's election, and I hope that we have a number of candidates and people bring this enthusiasm and run again next year. I think that she does have that professional experience as an engineer and with budgets. I think that's important. She's definitely accomplished professionally, but I also look to Sarah's experience. The 3 years that she served, one as chair on a number of different committees, and then even before that, her 16 years of involvement as a volunteer in the school. I will say that serving with her, I feel like she's led with grace and authenticity. She's made difficult decisions in a thoughtful manner. She brings an outstanding work ethic, and she has always prioritized students. In terms of her leadership style, she's grown more confident and decisive in her approach while maintaining that open mind and that ability to engage others and listen well to others. And when I think of those qualities, I think of that as the leadership that we need. I think she's always been very flexible and creative and hardworking to address the problems that we face. And so for those reasons, I feel strongly that I would like to see Sarah Fitzgerald back on this committee because of her experience.
Thank you.
So I'll be pretty brief as well, because I do agree with a lot that has been said. I think we are lucky as a community to have two great candidates speak up and also participate, and the resiliency of Ally coming back, and thank you. I do want to speak on Sarah. I think something that hit me hard when she resigned was we are people. We're all people. We're all community members. We're all sitting here trying to do the right thing. And to see some comments, whether right or wrong, be that she isn't resilient enough to put up with it, and why she resigned and why should she come back, it hit me hard. Because at the same time, I put myself in her shoes. Her daughter's graduating, and she's going through the immense stress of what happened on June 2nd and the days that followed. Myself gone through it as well, not in the same situation. She saw best fit for this community to step down. And through the resiliency of this community to come out in her support, I think has been incredible. The letters we've received, the feedback we've received, she is the right person for this role. And I think she should be a wake-up call to, as we move forward, how we work together and how we really come together as a community. We will not always agree. In fact, most of the times we will disagree. But how do we come together with respect and humility and understand we're all people and we're all going through our own troubles, our own challenges, and we're here to try to succeed as a community, and we will make mistakes. We have made mistakes, we'll continue to make mistakes. The question is, how do we learn as a community? How do we accept those mistakes, and how do we get better? So with that said, as much as Ally, I will say I appreciate your resiliency. I hope to see you continue to contribute, be part of this process. I'd be remiss to say I have to support Sarah Fitzgerald for this appointment.
Thank you, Frank. I will go next in turn. I was distracted for a moment because there is a beautiful rainbow outside right now if you take a look, and it's, I think, always worth it to take a breath and look at the good things in life, especially when one is stressed or busy. It's a very interesting process today. I think that there's been a lot of acrimony in the last couple of weeks. And before I say anything else, I'd like to thank members of the school committee who have taken time to chat with me personally. I feel like we're turning a corner, and I think we all agree that civility is a great thing and we should be embracing it more. So we're starting off on the right foot, I think. Between these two candidates, I'll just be honest. I think, Ally, you are exactly the kind of multifaceted skill set and outsider mindset that I would usually jump on and embrace for a position such as this. The caveat here is I am actually a little bit worried about the newness of a lot of the different staff that we have, and I wanted to really think this through, and I've been vacillating for the last week or so. But I think that at the moment, my point of view is that Sarah is probably the right pick given the current situation on the ground. The experience does matter, especially given the friction that we are going to be walking into and a lot of the leadership changes that we are seeing. And I also was very impressed the way that Sarah addressed the elephant in the room immediately in a way that I think we can all relate to, not only as public servants, but as people who live in a community together and want good things for especially our kids and all of us. So I think both candidates are truly strong. And Ally, I have a guess we're not going to, you won't be like walking off in the sunset. I'm pretty sure we're going to see you again, and hopefully you'll be involved. But for this particular nomination, this particular appointment, I think my vote will be with Sarah at the moment.
Thank you, Damon. I appreciate the comments from both of the candidates here. I think Ally's comments and her kindness towards Sarah, I think, are impressive. I think she has incredible qualifications and would certainly be somebody who would be very qualified and an exceptional addition to the school committee or any board she decides to serve on. I will also say when it comes to Sarah, We talk about experience and things like that, and she has a wealth of experience. And I can say personally, I had many conversations with her, and I think she's an exceptional person who has impeccable character. She would disagree with me in a civil way, and I find her to be a great person. And so I would just sort of come from a personal perspective and saying that I'm fully supportive of Sarah in this role moving forward. It's a shame that she would only get 1 year and have to run again, but I'm happy that she put her name back into the equation. Just one other comment here. The comments after June 2nd were disappointing. We're better than that, and as a town and as a community. I think we need to be able to have discussions in a civil way. We need to be able to disagree in a civil way, and there needs to be opportunities for disagreements and for communication and conversation. And it's hard, but we have to find ways to do it, and we have to find ways to get through it. And even when people disagree, if we listen to them, we can find ways to move ahead as a community, as a group, and we have to remember that we're all neighbors, and we're going to see each other, and we owe it to each other to put forward the best community that we possibly can. So I'm happy to support Sarah moving forward, and looking forward to the vote. Thank you.
I'll defer to many of my colleagues if we feel that further discussion is warranted, but I am also open to motions if that is where the waves carry us. But I think there is still some potential need for discussion. I'll leave it to y'all.
I'll make a motion. I'll move to appoint Sarah Fitzgerald to the school committee vacancy through the May 2027 annual town election.
Second by Dawn.
All right, Damon asked me to do the roll call, so I will do the select board first, and then I'll do the school committee. Damon?
Aye.
Tina?
Abstain?
I vote aye. I'm going to go down the line here. Tracy?
Aye.
Jess?
Aye.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
Hillary?
Aye.
Dawn?
Yes.
And Frank?
Yes.
So that is 7-1. 7-0-1. So
With that,
congratulations. Thank you.
motion carries.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, thank you very much. And I think that before we dissipate as a joint crew,
Yep. Motion to adjourn?
By Dawn.
Yes. Second. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
all right. Thank you very much, school committee, for joining us. The select board meeting will continue. We'll have a few moments of brief pause as people reassemble. All right, we are back. For those of you just joining us, we just completed the appointment for the Open School Committee membership, and now we'll be moving on to the School Building Committee appointment, I believe. Is that the next on our agenda? I don't have it here in front of us.
For discussion and possible vote on change in membership.
Yes. So to give a little bit of a background here, currently we have multiple slots open designated for the School Building Committee. One of those slots, and please correct me if I'm getting this wrong, we originally intended to designate for someone with a legal background.
She doesn't want to get asked. She's the working.
It's true. Do you want to give, would you give the background then in that case?
Sure, so we followed best practice or practice set by other communities. We had council weigh in. I think we ran it by MSBA at some point or referred to what they have online and came up with a membership list that we felt was comprehensive. We opened it up for applications. We asked residents who were interested to indicate what position they were interested in. And through a long open window, we had it open for 3 weeks. We received 18 applications, so we had a very strong response rate. We did not get anyone applying as a resident with a legal background. So the dilemma was, do we open up the application period window again, or do we go back to the MSBA and seek some counsel? Can we switch the membership? Because we had such a strong applicant pool on the engineering, architecture, construction slots, and nothing on the legal. So could we open it up to include 2 for engineering, architecture, construction, and remove the legal, the resident with a legal background? And there was no issue from the MSBA, no other issues seen. So given the strength of the applicant pool, that seemed like in the best interest of the town of Holliston to move forward with that. So that's where we are today.
Thank you for the update. And I, speaking only for myself here, it's also worth noting that some of the applicants who had kind of a construction background also had deep policy background, which for me kind of contributes to that. Not exactly legal, but it helps out quite a bit in other ways. So with that being said, do we have any worries about this change?
None whatsoever.
No, I think it makes sense. I think given, I wouldn't say that a legal background was superfluous, but I did kind of scratch my head a little bit, like, do we really need that? Given that, I mean, I don't know enough about the process to know, but I think given sort of the complexity of a building and engineering a building, I would love to have people with building experience. And if we could have 2, I would be very happy with that, but personally, so I have no problems moving forward like that. I did have one question, procedural question here. We're talking about these members, these at-large seats. Are we intending to vote on a select board member to be placed on the board, on the school building committee tonight?
The only 3 that we've got, I don't think we are planning on that this evening, or am I incorrect on
I
that?
think we get consensus if there's interest
Yeah.
at the table, and then we can formalize the vote later. I know there's some desire to move this process along, but I think we could get consensus tonight.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, we can.
Because at least I think it might be prudent to have a discussion about it, at least, because as we go ahead, we only have a couple more meetings, and before we need to have a school building meeting.
Yeah,
Says
true.
the man with the kindergartner.
I know, right?
To the woman whose youngest child just graduated.
First grader.
Oh, well.
He's a first grader. He's going into second grade, okay?
We stand corrected.
So very sorry.
The clerk has corrected
Well,
us.
Congratulations.
So yeah, we only have 3 on motion watch for tonight, but we could have a conversation about.
I mean,
I'm
whatever
happy
you
to-
think, but I think, given,
I'm not interested in being the select board member, not because I'm not interested, but because I think that there's better service to be provided by
I
either
am
of the 2 of you.
interested,
Yeah,
so.
I'm not.
I want to put that forward.
It's good to know, because I don't think that I would do it justice, so I think there's a
I am
last person
interested, so-
standing
but,
conversation
we
that might
can-
just have
we
happened.
can- If we want to have further discussion, we certainly can.
All right, sounds good. So I think it sounds like we have a motion for the change, if anyone would like to make it.
Yes, move to amend the existing membership composition of the Holliston School Building Committee by eliminating the seat held for a resident with legal background and adding an additional seat for a resident with architecture, engineering, or construction experience.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So moved and accepted. All right, so that brings us on to the actual appointment conversation. So just for those following along at home and here, that means that we have two buckets. One is for the 65-year and older slot, and now the newly minted two slots for construction and architecture and engineering experience. So I think that it would make sense for us to move first and converse about the 65-year and older slot. Let's see, how should we address that? Would you all like to do a round robin and contribute your ideas, or do we feel strongly already and feel like a motion is in order? I haven't had the chance to have much of a conversation with you two, so I'm open to it, of course.
Well, I think both candidates are excellent. I think, this kind of becomes the challenge of any of these conversations is you wind up with a number of candidates who are exceptional humans, who are, qualified and capable and interested, and it winds up being, we have to make a choice. And that kind of, so, that being said, I mean, I think, Howard put forward he's got a great resume. He seems like an exceptional person. For me personally, I would endorse Deb Moore to going forward for this, but that's me personally. But it's difficult when you're trying to make a choice between two good people.
Well, as I said before, very strong applicant pool across the board. So my focus was really on three areas for all of the candidates that we're looking at tonight. Knowledge of complicated, large-scale, and taxpayer-funded projects. A background that includes strong volunteer service to youth and professional or volunteer experience collaborating and building relationships with community members. I prioritized those in my choices, and for that I choose Deb Moore for the 65 and older.
Yeah, I'm happy to contribute to that briefly. I think, as you mentioned, both candidates really exceptional. For me, I do have a recency bias that I sometimes lean into, and since I've been on the board, obviously I've seen Deb perform at peak performance on multiple different initiatives. I know that she has the wherewithal to do it, and that's not to say that Howard wouldn't, but Deb enjoys a strong level of confidence for me, just based on what I have seen in my interactions with her. So I, too, would be leaning in her favor, even though I think Howard had an exceptionally strong resume as well.
Okay. One point of clarification here. For the motions to appoint, is there a term, or is it the duration of the building?
Is for the intention for all the applicants was that they serve on the committee through the duration of the project.
Okay. Should we put that in the motion?
Sure. I guess it doesn't hurt.
I mean, just to sort of indicate, rather than it's a reappointment, because we're going to do annual appointments, that this it isn't necessarily subject to annual appointment. It is you serve until the conclusion or you resign.
They did acknowledge that in their application, but sure.
Okay. Well, just to make sure that it's, I would just feel comfortable with it, if that's okay with you.
As clerk, if you'd like to make that, does that limit us in any way going forward? No, I think that should be fine, right?
No, I mean, yeah. I don't think it would. I think it just indicates the transparency of the appointment.
Yep. Feel good about it.
You want a motion?
I do.
Okay. I will move to appoint Deb Moore to the Holliston School Building Committee for the seat to be held by a Holliston resident age 65 years or older for a term for the duration of the construction project. Yeah, that's it.
I'll second that motion.
Seconded. All those in favor of appointing Deb, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Carried.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, that brings us to our second bucket, which is the architecture, engineering, construction background. And we have an embarrassment of riches.
Yes, we have a lot of wonderful people here.
Yeah, just to recap for those who are just joining in for the first time, so many excellent candidates that I think, I'm struggling at this point as well. There's just exceptional levels of skill here that I did not expect going into this process. So for me, this is, 2 slots is not enough. I'd like to have 4 or 5, please. But let's discuss.
I would imagine that there's going to be other opportunities for
sure.
subcommittees and for participation for anyone who's not placed. I think there's going to be definitely much community input in this process. So even if they're not appointed at this time, they will be called upon, I'm sure, to participate.
Excellent. Well, where should we begin? There's a lot to discuss. I mean, there's so many candidates here.
I know. I guess it's hard because, so many candidates have such wonderful backgrounds and such incredible amounts of experience and energy and enthusiasm. And I think the thing that struck me hearing the statements and reading and understanding, there was a couple candidates that really kind of rose up because of their particular experience with the MSBA. And that really struck a chord for me. to really give me a little bit of like, hey, you know, having people who've sort of been through some of this process in some capacity, I think is something that I would greatly appreciate into these roles. I mean, that's why I think for me, John and Christy really served that and really kind of served that in that kind of role for me. I mean, it's hard because everybody had such, you know, there was such an amazing amount of experience, but that to me was just sort of like a little bit that just sort of, you know, pushed them, for in my mind, to just be a little bit above some of the other candidates. So those were the two that I was leaning towards.
Happy to chime in, or Tina, would you like to go next?
I'll go next if I may. So we will certainly have representation from the non-voting members who have deep knowledge of the MSBA process, including our rep from the MSBA program themselves. We'll have James Keast, we'll have many people on the committee who are again, deeply knowledgeable in construction projects. So I felt a high level of confidence that we were off to a good start regardless, and then we get the applicant pool. And so for me, I have my priority areas, and I've actually identified the candidates that I'd like to see move forward based on those priority areas, as I mentioned before. One candidate stood out above and beyond in terms of what was shared with us in written and presented statements and follow-up questions, and that's Barb Ryan, who has direct experience navigating, maintaining operations while also facilitating a construction project in a large and complicated system, healthcare system, because what struck out to me is that that's service to others, right? So for me, the similarity is that, number one, she's running her department, her operations while construction's going on. That is exactly what is most likely going to happen at the school. I can't speak for sure, but that is a very likely reality, that school will be operating while construction will be going on. And having someone who has that direct experience living it, having lived it, meant a lot to me, but also that this was healthcare and this is education. And in both those situations, your primary role in that situation is to serve others. And that, I just think, is such a strong attribute that I didn't see, at least in what was shared, reflected as strongly in the other candidates. So that really stood out to me as something unique that, among all of the strengths of everybody, was above and beyond for me. So I call that out as a unique aspect to that candidate. But again, I stated my 3 priority areas, and I'm happy to share when the time comes how I sort of view the candidates.
I'll speak openly. I try to think of this kind of like, not to use a sports metaphor that I know nothing about, but like a starting lineup. There were so many great candidates that what I was trying to find out were who are the people who, to me, stood a little bit above that excellence level for one reason or another, not necessarily on a dimension of excellence, but maybe they're bringing something to the table that someone else doesn't, or just a dimensionality that is unique that I would find valuable personally. And I think the names that keep popping up for me are John Nunari, because of his background with both policy and general MSBA. And then that one to me, I think, had a very kind of a special connotation just because of that depth of policy, but I can be swayed on that. And then the other 3 names that keep surfacing as the more I think about it are David Liskowski, who I think his unique dimensionality there is that he has served on the finance committee for our town, and I think that connection might be very useful in terms of kind of understanding some of the conversations that we'll have going forward. And he also has an excellent construction background as well. Barbara Ryan, I agree with what you were saying there. Tina, I'm very impressed with the background, and I think that's the kind of juggling we're going to need. And then Christy, I was impressed with as well, although it's hard to say that it's a stand-in John or Christy, but their backgrounds are so similar that I think choosing one or the other, we can't do wrong. So those are kind of the 4 main names. But to be honest, between the other candidates, they are just as likely to me as not. But those would be my 4 initial drafts if I had to name them. Yep.
I would add, so Barb Ryan, I would add Christy Opper, John Nunari, and Dave Laskowski as well. I would raise, in my opinion, Barb and Christy to the top of the four, but all four of those are great candidates. They're all great candidates. Let me be clear. I think we can't be too clear on this one. This is a difficult decision, no doubt. And that was why I found it helpful to kind of pick what I found as priorities.
What were your priorities?
Knowledge of complicated, large-scale, and taxpayer-funded projects.
That's the one I was looking for. And who are your top candidates again?
Barb Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
Christy Opper, John Nunari, Dave Laskowski.
Okay. All right. Ben, any thoughts now that you've had time to reflect?
I mean, I've heard certainly some things here too. I am comfortable, like if we wanted to move forward with, say, with what Tina was suggesting, Barb and Christy, I think I would be comfortable with that. It sounded like that could be.
I don't think I would stand against that. I'm curious to hear more about the John Christie
Well, I think,
interplay.
As I sort of think about it a little bit here, John and Christy are both terrific, but I think there's a lot of overlap there, and having something with a little bit, somebody with a little bit of a different perspective. As I listen to you both in this context, I think having somebody who has experience but also has a little bit of a different background, I think is impactful for me as well.
Christy spoke specifically 2 Mondays ago about building relationships with community members, and that's not to say that the others have not done that, but being able to make my decision based on what's presented. I recall specifically, I wrote my notes out that evening, that was a standout comment that she made, and then referring back to what she presented in her statements and so on, and maybe a little bit of LinkedIn digging as well, which I think is wholly appropriate here. It's reflected there. So for me, it was that. So in my sort of scoring rubric here, I gave more weight to Christy in that she's recognizing and how she presented to us that value of relationships, building relationships with community members. That's going to be so important. And please, I cannot say this enough. It's not to say that the others don't have that. It's just these were what stood out through the process.
They're so good. You're trying to find anything to sort of find something to say. Well, wait a minute.
What's the extra juice?
It's like it's not, because it is difficult when you have a group of people that are this good. I mean,
I'm trying to be transparent in the process that I went through.
No, and we have to be, we have to put our cards on the table when we say this.
It's interesting. May I ask you a question of you, Ben? So one of the things that, obviously, Mr. Laskowski, really great construction background as well. Am I overemphasizing the finance committee membership aspect in my thinking here?
Well, you have to make that decision yourself.
Of course, but I'm curious. I mean, as a former finance committee member.
I think any experience is good experience when it comes to these kinds of aspects, and I think you're going to, you inevitably have trade-offs where somebody has experience in one role and not in another. And, if you feel that, having that experience with that committee is beneficial, certainly that can be a powerful thing. I think at the end of the day, you're going to have those communications, you're going to have those opportunities to meet with other groups and things like that. So I think, having that certainly is valuable, but I wouldn't necessarily personally weight it more than other aspects, given the role that we're talking about, which is architectural engineering experience.
So it sounds like, well, we discussed potentially doing an approval vote, but we have not locked that in yet. But if we were doing an approval vote, it sounds like our mutual approvals, the only two people who all three of us would endorse strongly at the moment would be Barbara and Christy. That's not to say we wouldn't endorse the others, but that those are the two that rise to the top. And if we were doing an approval vote, that would be the natural outcome of that.
I think that's fair to say, given our conversation.
And so the question is, do we want to do an approval vote, or knowing that would be the outcome anyway?
I mean, what I was saying when, it was brought to our attention that, the microphones were on, I'm a little uncomfortable doing an approval vote in this kind of a context, because for two reasons. One, we're talking about, a lot of different people and things like that. And I think you wind up with, I know personally, I don't know if I want to be able to say, I don't endorse this person. I don't want
you don't need
support
to.
this person. And I don't feel that.
It's only pro.
Right, but I feel like,
I understand.
Not a no vote, or like a not voting is sort of I feel a little bit uncomfortable in that kind of context to do that. And I will defer if the two of you feel strongly, but I think where we are, I think we have enough of a consensus to say those two people, but I'm comfortable making a motion for Christy and Barbara.
Yeah, to me, we have just done an approval vote. We just didn't do a vote.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked our way through it.
So it's literally the same thing minus a piece of paper where we check mark things. So
Yes.
I believe our approval conversation got to the same two people.
Okay.
And we can come back to this under other business, because I think we
Yes.
should continue to talk about approval voting.
Different
But I think we're
conversation,
at Correct. I think we're at a point here where Ben might have a motion.
Yes, I will move to appoint Barbara Ryan and Christy Opper to the Holliston School Building Committee for the 2 seats to be held by Holliston residents with construction, architecture, or engineering experience for a term to be ending when the project has completed.
I second that vote.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Carried.
Thank you.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you, Barbara.
I was not expecting the gavel, but I don't know why I wasn't expecting the gavel.
It's just for fun.
It's been on the
It's
table
just
all
for
night.
fun.
All right, Judge Wapner. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for putting your name forward. Thank you.
Don't rescind now. It's the wrong time to do it.
All right. Okay.
Cheers. All right, excellent. We are breezing right along here. Board.
We are. I know, it's almost 9 o'clock.
Wow.
And so I would just say, I think we were talking about meeting next week.
Yes, potentially. Yeah, potentially.
I'll bring it up.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, so that is the end of School Building Committee update and appointments, bringing us to topic 4, vote to sign Constitution Village Road acceptance documents. I guess we do need a vote on that.
Can you?
Would you like to go through a little bit of what we're doing there, Frank, just for folks who are later watching?
Sure, this is purely an administrative matter, so the town meeting in May approved the road acceptance for the roads in question, the Constitution Village subdivision. So just to be totally transparent and cautious, figured we'd throw it on an agenda item before signing.
All right, excellent. All right, great. And then,
Can I ask one question?
absolutely.
Do I remember correctly that these have 120 days after town meeting? They're time frames that we have to complete these things? Because I remember there was one, I think it was actually in that neighborhood, that we kept having to do because we couldn't quite complete the task.
no.
Yes.
So.
We're good, I think.
I think, do we have what we need and we can move ahead and we're on our way, so it won't necessarily have to do it again?
Yes, my understanding is that an agent of Fafford will be picking up all these documents tomorrow, and we should be on our way. And the planning board, I believe, has signed everything as well.
Okay.
All right, I guess we're looking for a motion.
All right, I will make a motion. There we are. I will make a move to sign the deeds and other necessary documentation related to road acceptance of Constitution Village subdivision as approved at the May 2026 annual town meeting.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So carried. All right, Constitution Village, welcome to the town, I suppose. Great. And now we are going on to warrants, the most exciting part of the night.
Yes.
Frank, please tell us about the warrants.
Sure, I have 3 to report. June 8th, 2026, $573,323.23. June 15th, 2026, $3,333,221.26. And the third, June 22nd, 2026, $674,605.69.
Excellent, thank you.
No problem.
All right, on to public comments. We have a huge crowd here in the auditorium. For those who can't see, it's James.
Hi, James.
All the exciting people have decided to go to their exciting ways. But for those online, if there's anyone who'd like to make public comment, please raise your virtual hand at Zoom. If not, no, looks like no takers. Excellent.
There's one, I have one to read when you have a.
Sure. Please go right ahead. Yeah, I think so. After this.
Okay. This is from resident Carrie Marsh, 182 Highland Street. She'd like this to be read into the public record. What happened after the June 2nd vote should concern everyone who values local governance. Ben, when I chaired the AgCom and faced a difficult application, you once told me that a committee speaks through its motions and votes. On June 2nd, the school committee did exactly that. It deliberated, voted, and selected a candidate. Whether people agreed with the outcome or not, the committee had the right to make that choice. The school committee is the body that must work with this individual. It should have the authority to choose who it wants to serve alongside, free from interference from that fact. Instead of respecting that decision, the select board challenged the outcome. Feeling unnecessary division and controversy ultimately led to the school committee member resigning and the select candidate withdrawing. My request is simple. The select board should recuse itself from this appointment process and allow the school committee to select the person it believes is best suited to serve with them. Respect the vote, respect the process, and respect the committee's right to choose its own colleague. In closing, I firmly believe Sarah Fitzgerald was always the right choice for the school committee. Her qualifications, experience, and dedication to our schools and community speak for themselves. She has consistently demonstrated the leadership, professionalism, and commitment necessary to serve effectively and advocate for students, families, educators, and taxpayers alike. I am confident that Sarah will continue to be a thoughtful, responsible, and valuable member of the school committee, and I fully support her service in this role. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie, for your comments.
Thank you for that. We do see a hand raised online. Please identify yourself, name and address before commenting. Someone has to grant it, though. It's a Samsung SMX210.
There we go.
Oh, back on mute. Is that technical difficulties or they're not?
I think they just unmuted and then muted again.
All right. Oh, gone.
Okay.
All right, well.
There's someone in the chat. Is there anything in the chat?
No.
Oh, no, it's more.
All right.
Sorry.
I'm assuming technical difficulties, so we'll move on to comments from board.
No, nothing at this time, I don't think.
I just had two comments, really. Thank yous to our fantastic HDAC coordinator, Zoe Moreau, who's running our drug-free community grant program. Not only was she invited to present a diploma to a graduating senior this year at the high school graduation,
I had no
which
idea.
is just remarkable. You know, she herself is just some number of years outside of graduation either, yet the students she works with identify her as such a strong leader and such a strong mentor and inspiration for them that one of them asked her to present the diploma. It speaks so highly of Zoe and what she's capable of and what she means to this community. She also graduated from the Leadership Metro West Academy class of 2026. That just happened a number of days ago. So, we've seen Zoe come in as our first drug-free grant coordinator, community grant coordinator, and she has just excelled in everything she's touched, most recently this month with these two examples. So I just want to thank her and call her out for these really meaningful ways she's impacting our community and her tremendous accomplishments. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Tina. Nothing on my end except for thank you to my fellow board members for your patience with me on my first night officially chairing. Hopefully I did an okay job. I know I have gigantic boat-sized shoes to fill, but I think we did an okay job tonight as far as reach out to other boards and committees, and it was really great to see the progress. I feel like we're starting out on an okay foot, and that would not be possible with your support, so I thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, that brings us to comments from the town manager.
I have a number of updates tonight, so please bear with me. I just want to remind everyone that there will be no trash and recycling delay on July the 3rd. We'll also push that out on Facebook just as a reminder. Also coming up soon is our Household Hazardous Waste Day on July 11th. It will take place from 8 a.m. to noon or until capacity is reached at the Adams Middle School. Note you'll actually enter through the Placentino entrance and then circle through into the Adams parking lot and then exit from there. Feel free to reach out to the town manager's office for additional information or with questions. The Department of Public Works has finalized the summer 2026 paving schedule. The DPW has reached out directly to residents in affected neighborhoods with project information and anticipated timelines. Residents are asked to avoid parking on affected streets while paving operations are underway to help ensure the work can be completed safely and efficiently. On Monday, June 29th, reclaiming will begin on Kim Place, the lower portion, Austin Road, and Old Town Road on the Washington Street side. Other roads scheduled to be repaved this summer include Prentice Street from Chamberlain to Marshall Street, Juniper Road, Country Road, Aaron Way, Gorin Drive Extension, the currently paved portion, Purses Place, Stagecoach Road, and Dorset Road. Residents with additional questions are encouraged to contact the DPW at 508-429-0615. We appreciate your patience and cooperation as this work is completed to improve local roadways. As a means to increase our communications efforts here at Town Hall, I am pleased to announce a couple of new initiatives kicking off this month. Judy O'Gara and I, Judy is the editor of the free monthly Holliston Local Town Pages, will be sitting down each month to catch up on the events of the past month and to look forward to what community members can look forward to in the coming month. Look for the July 2026 edition to see the first article in this series and a thank you to Judy for her time. This month, we've also rebooted Ask the Town Manager with a slightly different spin. The series will showcase the work that our departments do on a day-to-day basis, highlight how it impacts members of our community, and demystify how local government works every day. First up was Tyler Skripiak, our conservation agent, who shared some great information about what wetlands are, how to determine whether you live near one, what that might mean, and the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. We also talked about Conservation Commission's support of the bike park construction on Woodland Street, their ongoing trails assessment, Lake Winthrop, and more. That episode is now available on HCAT. And as a reminder, you can also hear this weekly update or bi-weekly update and other town manager updates in podcast form, also through HCAT. Last week, I attended the coffee hour hosted by the Economic Development Committee at Dream Cafe. Look for future announcements in the coming weeks about the schedule for these breakfasts, which will now be hosted on a monthly basis by the EDC. And on a related note, I'm looking forward to attending the Holliston Business Association's upcoming meeting on July 27th. Habitat for Humanity Metro West Greater Worcester is pleased to announce that they are now accepting applications for homeownership. This opportunity is a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, single-family ranch style located at 550 Concord Street here in Holliston. Habitat for Humanity is seeking qualified applicants within their 42 community service area who earn 30 to 60% of HUD's fiscal year 25 AMI based on their family size. The home will be sold at or below a maximum sales price of $357,499. The actual cost will be based on 30% of a selected applicant's eligible income. Selection will be made through an EOHLC-approved lottery process. Details and forms are posted on their website, or alternatively, please check the town's website for additional information. The town is hiring for a number of exciting positions, including outreach coordinator for the Council on Aging, head mechanic for the DPW, tree supervisor for the DPW, economic development and communications coordinator, administrative clerk for planning and community development, and head of adult services and access at the library. For more information, please visit the town's website or call 508-474-3335. Lots of threes, sorry. I'm also excited to remind residents that Town Hall is revitalizing the Senior Veterans Tax Work-Off Program, offering senior and veteran homeowners an opportunity to perform work in town departments with a reduction of their property tax bill of up to $1,500 annually. This re-energized program will be offered for fiscal year 27, which starts July 1st, 2026. We aim to enroll up to 20 seniors or veterans in the program, with more in future years as the program is expanded. Participants will be accepted as they are approved after receiving all application requirements described on the town's website. The town will try to match any areas of expertise that the participants might bring to the program with town departments' needs. For more information, please contact Human Resources 508-474-3335 or the Council on Aging at 508-429-0622. A couple more, please bear with me. A reminder to the community that Celebrate Holliston will be sponsoring a number of events this summer to commemorate the nation's 250th. This weekend, June 27th, the Unlikely Strummers Ukulele Band will hold a free concert at Blair Square from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. A breakfast will be held at the Mount Hollis Lodge beginning at 8 a.m. on July 4th, to be followed by a reading of the Declaration of Independence by a number of notable Hollistonians right here on the steps of Town Hall. On Friday, July 31st, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., a free concert will take place featuring group therapy with rock, pop, country, oldies, and contemporary tunes in Blair Square. And finally, on August 15th, the Claflin Hill Symphony Orchestra will hold a free concert at 6 p.m. in Blair Square. Looking ahead to the fall, I'm also happy to announce that Farms Day will be held on September 13th, with 6 local farms already signed up to participate. Celebrate Holliston will take place on September 19th at Damigella Field, and the Historical Society's Harvest Fair will be held on September 20th, the 45th year of the event. That is the Town Manager's update for June 23rd, 2026. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Frank. Much appreciated.
Can I make a
Absolutely.
couple things? First is I think it's only funny that Tyler's going to say, where's a wetland? Because Holliston is basically an entire wetland. I had a question about the town pages.
Sure.
Is there an opportunity for boards or for groups to participate? I know Vision and Future in Holliston have been having a conversation about potentially submitting ideas and things like that, or articles, and so I was wondering if there's an opportunity for that in that relationship.
Yeah, based on the feedback that I've received from Judy, I think she's all ears on anyone who wants to participate. So I'm happy to I can reach out to Barbara or through you, whoever I can see how the best way to facilitate that.
I would also strongly urge you to cast the net
Yep.
as wide as possible to see if there's other groups who might want to participate. In town, whether it's HDAC or Parks and Recreation or anything like that. If anybody else wants to, I think it would be an awesome opportunity to try to find other ways to communicate with the community.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
No problem. All right, I think we're done. All right, next up, board business.
Yes.
Mr.
Please go ahead. You want to?
I was just going to ask if we were doing that as a consent agenda or not.
I believe we can. I was just going to ask a question about the appointments. Can we, or have we started, published open seats that are still out there that we still haven't filled?
We have not yet. I think we're still waiting on some folks to respond.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But I would like to do that this summer once we hear back from everyone and confirm yes or no.
Yeah, I would ask through the board if it's possible we could have like maybe a quarterly update or something like that, like every few months. It doesn't have to be a barrage, but it's
Sure.
just like opportunities to push things out there and say, hey,
I like that.
please participate. And we still have some open seats for various roles. I mean, how many boards committees report to us? I think it's
31.
Well, there's 35, but
We're getting more efficient.
it's a lot. Do we consolidate something?
Yeah, maybe we talk about that. It's a policy
It's a
conversation.
lot. So anyway, finding ways to get that information out there maybe every few months, I think would be a good idea to try to continue to fill those roles, fill the talent bank, things like that.
Sure.
Thank you.
I like that.
So that's the only comment I have. Otherwise, I'm comfortable.
Just to yes and that, I think actually you bumped into a good question. We are talking about potentially having a meeting where we'll talk about policy ideas for the upcoming year. That'll be a public meeting, of course, but offsite, onsite. Maybe looking at the different committees that we've got and just thinking about what's working, what's not working. That'd be part of that conversation. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. If we're inclined. All right.
So inclined. Do you want me to do the?
If you feel like it, please.
Do a motion. Move to approve board business as a consent agenda as presented, including annual reappointments effective July 1st, 2026, also as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Yes?
Yes. Done.
Booyah.
Booyah, we're done. I just want to use that 4 times in a meeting. So we did it.
Wow.
So I think that brings us to the end of our agenda.
Other business?
We do have some other business.
I don't know if you all want to discuss this right now, but we had, I think Chair and I were discussing that the next scheduled meeting, I believe, was July 13th. We may be looking at another meeting in there just to take care of other matters, but in terms of regular business, do we want to reschedule the July 13th meeting?
I will not be around on July 13th.
Right.
So I'll be off country. So it's up to you two. I'm more than confident that you can do without me. The question is whether or not you want to do without me for that particular meeting.
Well, as you map out the agendas for the next couple of meetings with Frank, if there's something that requires all 3 votes or consensus, whatever, voices, on that July 13th, usually summer quiets, I would think.
Yeah, pretty quiet.
So we probably could do a meeting on the 13th, keep it that way. Are you on vacation at all?
I'm not. No, well, I will be here.
You will be, okay.
Yep.
I mean, I think I'm personally fine with just the 2 of us, unless there's some pressing matter that we can't, and you just let us know, Frank.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. I think I would say, I think it'd be a good idea that we get a select board member on the school building committee.
Yeah.
It needs to be seated by July 31st, and
Yeah.
we should be doing it before July 13th, because otherwise we're kind of running up against, like, you know.
It's my understanding, as Frank mentioned, we might have a housekeeping meeting coming up in our near future. Maybe we can add that to that particular agenda.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I would ask in the near future is to have like a goals conversation and have some, you know, like.
We've been talking about it, have nothing
like
gelled
that.
yet.
And then the other thing would be thinking about like the timeline for town meeting and opening the warrant for articles and things like that, so.
It's quickly coming, faster than we ever expect.
Well, and that's also like the summer is such a dead time, and you want to make sure that you get it out there early enough so that way people have time and, you know, with vacations and things like that. So,
I was wondering, are you both amenable to, this is for in terms of budget, but we did a larger meeting, although it had a lot of different department heads in it. Would you two be amenable if we're talking about big ideas or whatnot? We're thinking about doing like a brainstorming meeting where in the morning we would address ideas and in the afternoon kind of debate and curate, and we could, potentially do a potluck and whatnot so that we're not all going hungry. But I'd be in favor of that. So
No, I'm in favor of that.
yeah, I think that might be a good idea to do something like that to align everybody.
Great, awesome. We'll work on it.
If I can put something on your radar here, where we had that strong applicant pool for the school building committee, and we're only pulling 3 names off of it, may I suggest that we write a thank you letter through perhaps town manager, write a thank you letter to the other candidates, but also let them know that there will be the formation of ad hoc advisory groups, and that there will be opportunities, if they're interested, to contribute in other ways, and that it's just something for them to be thinking about. And 2 other things related to that is finalizing the MOU. I suppose that we'll want to see the school building committee seated, but I'm just keeping that top of the list.
Yeah, we need to keep that up there, yeah.
And finally, we did talk at the last meeting about a joint statement between the school committee and the select board, sort of unifying a message through this joint appointment process about however we want to approach it. But I see value in that, I really do.
I agree.
And that brings me full circle to approval voting. We practiced tonight.
Yep.
We tried it on for size. I liked the fit and feel of it. I would like to see it fleshed out more, and I would like to see it brought back for joint appointment processes. I think we have 1 or 2 in our future.
Excellent.
I think the Parks
At least
and-
one, Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
likely.
so I do think that this is something we should pursue further. And finally, I didn't mention this under public comment, but I don't want to forget, Chief Stone was interviewed by the Metro West Daily News.
Oh, I
Do you
didn't know.
remember when we did all of that work for e-bike use, e-scooter use? We're proactive and ahead of many municipalities, and he was briefly interviewed in an article, and it's good for Holliston to be out in front of this, and he definitely highlighted that, and so I'm grateful to him, but pleased to see that we are being recognized in a broader regional discussion about this issue as being proactive.
Well, I'll let my child know who to be angry at about the e-bike.
Oh, send them my way. Good Lord.
I was about to buy him one. He's
Angry
like,
children, got it.
No problem.
On it.
You're an expert.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Excellent.
That's all I had.
All right. That's good. Any other business?
I said what I needed to say.
All right, then I think we are looking for a motion.
Motion to adjourn at 9:16 PM.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Boom. Good night, Holliston.